everyone, it's Buzzsaw. I getting a lot done today, uploading, and I charged my camera up. It died off in the woods, and then I kind of, like, my interest to go back to society kind of died off with it, and I was just relaxing in the woods, but I didn't have a camera, so kind of, set me back a little bit. Hopefully I can get some things recorded today, and maybe address a couple of the Alice movies, what my thoughts are on those, and so on and so forth. Doing this with an incredible rash over my eye, that is from Chagas disease that I caught in Florida. It's also all over my arm, and it just kind of, you can clear it up with diatomaceous earth, which isn't too bad, but it takes like 3 months, so, still trying to get rid of that after a year being away from Florida, but it keeps coming back, and I don't nip it in the bud quite well enough, and so I got rashes on me in this video. I don't care. And not only that, but I'm 10 pounds heavier than I've ever been in my entire life, and I'm doing this video series anyway. I don't care. I'm not doing this for me. I started with 30 videos and 0 subscribers. I don't care. I'm not doing this for fame, glory, or fortune, or whatever. Okay. In a previous video, I informed you that I had figured out in 2016 that I'm what I'll refer to as Alpha Alice. Before you make a face, let me explain what that is. Which is to say that aside from the MK Ultra mind control Alices we have become aware of through whistleblowers and declassifications, there is an active side subplot to the mind control, if you will, wherein an Alpha Alice or a lone revolution sparking Alice was to figure out that those movies were all saturated with details meant specifically to get her attention. Then she would dutifully lead you all into a sloppy revolution that would unfold rather grotesquely and quickly into an even sloppier civil war. However, change of plans. I could spend countless hours and days going over all the anecdotally relevant bullet points to this assertion per movie, but I'll keep that to a minimal because it gets ridiculous. Also, an entire other can of worms of explanation has now opened up into even more Alice movies that I did not even want to mention, because the details of those movies deal in specific to the love of my life. Some of those details are bogus lies to deter me from ever speaking this stuff. They throw all kinds of gross, nasty stuff in there to deter the person from ever speaking it. But that's not true. Moving on. You'll figure it out as we go along in the movies. There's all sorts of whoppers. But cross those bridges when we come to them. Also, an entire other can of worms. Okay, blah blah blah. Because details of these movies deal specific with the love of my life. Okay, one of these movies, an example of one of these movies is Back to the Future, which somebody just said online that it was an Alice movie, and they're right. But I should just stick to the script, huh? I go over that in the script, and then I'm here talking about it. The Back to the Future movies, namely, have recently been identified as Alice movies, which they are. I just didn't know anyone else was going to figure that out, so I felt safe keeping quiet about those, seeing as though they're like love of my life movies instead of just regular Alice movies. Like, never mind. Okay, but since so much is about to be all kinds of out there, I'll tell you that Forrest Gump, believe it or not, is also an Alice movie. Also, although perhaps not for sex slaves. In some of these movies, they're trying to use the love of my life to make the mind control maximally effective, which it is not, by the way. Another Alice movie that you might be surprised at is My Own Private Idaho, which I have an entire dissection of that movie ready to film, hopefully today. Some of the more obvious Alice movies would be the Hunger Games series, the Divergent series, the Harry Potter series, Star Wars, the last Star Wars, I don't know about the George Lucas Star Wars, obviously the Matrix series, and the Wizard of Oz, to name just a few. There's a whole huge pile of these movies. As a researcher, I'm not fit to dissect these movies for you as Alice movies, but as Alpha Alice and Revolution Alice, I am fully qualified to speak the truth as I know it. There are built-in discreditors along the way, as you know. But I'm willing to do this process of what I hope will become many revelations to you about both the ideas and meanings within these movies, but perhaps also about the nature of these movies, and especially that. I'll begin by saying that without getting into the relation between my birth numbers and those used throughout the movies, my birth numbers are, from a worldly numerological standpoint, ideal for selfless leadership on a world stage. And also, the day of November 7th harkens to Leon Trotsky and Billy Graham, who are both speakers. Excuse me. I can hardly speak. The birth chart, from an astrological point of view, is designed towards headiness and wordiness, and towards the ease of information flow. And so they sought to utilize this. And also my long history of trauma as a person who has recently, in the past few years, figured out that my entire life I've been a target, I believe, to lesser or greater degrees at different points. But my entire life, I feel like, has, in fact, been colored by this program that I had no idea. And so, so they sought to utilize these aspects of my birth numbers and my nature. Of course, the directed energy weapons-induced brain damage has sadly dampened that. You know, my ability to speak, for instance, to think clearly in sentences like that just flow, you know, to where I now have difficulty even pronouncing words. But I'm not worried about that, because if I give up my last spark to align the people the right way and to begin the exact right revolution that we need, so that a wrong revolution might not take hold, and so that these working against the people's interests will not get their civil war, then it got done. And they will not get their civil war. This will be a revolution of the people, by the people, and for our freedom, not our bondage. I know that we can do this. And the Fed.